It's time again for the Insiders with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.
Hi, I'm Scott Jensen, former Assembly Speaker.
And I'm Chuck Chvala, former Senate Majority Leader.
And we're the Insiders, and there's nothing more insiderish than talking about redistricting and legislative maps. It's a science that few people understand, but it's important to everybody in Wisconsin. So earlier in this process, the Republicans said to the governor, okay, we'll go to the Iowa plan, nonpartisan redistricting. The governor said, not having it. Then this week they sent him maps. And the governor vetoed those maps. Even though the maps gave him 99% of what he was asking for, just a couple of tweaks in it. So what's up? Why is the governor not willing to go along with the things he said he wanted before?
Well, as we know, Scott, as insiders, it's really all about majorities. And what Robin Vos did was just make sure he drew maps that would give him majorities and the Senate majorities. And that's really, at the end of the day, all they care about. And they do know they are at risk of losing this. This is the most gerrymandered map in the country. Everybody, all the experts pretty much agree on that. And the bottom line here is that this gerrymander cannot stand, not even for 2 more years. Somehow the court has to find a way by renumbering probably some districts. They've already said they probably aren't going to make all the odd numbered districts up for election this year. In fact, none of them will be. Well, that's fine, but the court can renumber and do some other things to allow both the Senate and the Assembly to have opportunities for both parties, a politically neutral map that will give both parties the opportunity to have a majority. That's what has to happen. And the people of Wisconsin should no longer be faced with a 12-year gerrymander. It should not go 14 years, and it has to happen now. I think the court will do that. There's no guarantee of that. The court is trying to figure out what's the best way to handle this. But I think with some renumbering, they can do it. And I hope and I expect that they will, because I think they understand the egregiousness of this. Robin Vos, whenever, I've said this on this program before, whenever Robin Vos has something that looks like it might be something worth considering, it's definitely not worth considering. Robin Vos is the guy who created these outrageous partisan maps, along with some assistance from other people in the Republican Party. But I think it's time for this to end.
I think the Republican strategy here is really to reduce risk, right? They'd rather have certainty and know how many seats they're going to have taken away from them during this process. And so if they do the Iowa nonpartisan redistricting, they can kind of work that out and go, yeah, we'll probably have a majority still in both houses. And if they gave the governor his map with just a couple of tweaks to move one legislator 15 feet over so he gets to stay in the district that he's presently representing, they're hoping, oh, there we go. If the governor signs that, then we kind of know what we're dealing with. We know how much the loss is and that it still produces a Republican majority in both houses of the legislature. But with the court, who knows? The court is the element of uncertainty, and they're doing everything they can to avoid that uncertainty. They continue to ask for recusals. They continue to talk about taking it to the federal courts. They are clearly nervous about what the Wisconsin Supreme Court is going to do. And I think that's because clearly they intend to make a dramatic change from the maps we now have.
I think that Scott would probably agree with me on this. I think it's clear the court will not accept the 2 Republican maps that are in there, the Will map and the other Republican map, because they definitely just maintain the gerrymander. That's not going to happen. The court can't, there's no way that the court, once they find that they have to draw maps, that they can draw a gerrymander. That's one. Number 2, the governor and the state Senate on the Democratic side, they're not going to accept those maps because that would look partisan. And frankly, they're not that great a map. I think it comes down to the map, the Clark map done by Law Forward, and the Wright map. Those are the two, but those 2 maps need to be renumbered, and there need to be changes made there so that the gerrymander is gone this year. I believe that that's where the court will end up, somewhere in that range, but it's up to the court, and we will see. And they are one thing. What I say to a lot of people here is I'm both an attorney and I'm in politics. So I get both ends of this, but this is truly the intersection of law and politics. And what I find is that the politicians are not so good at getting the law, and the lawyers are not so good at getting the politics. I'm hopeful that this court will act as Solomon and find a way to stop the gerrymander this year, renumber some maps, take the right map or the law forward map, tweak it, do some renumbering, and give both parties an opportunity to prove to the electorate that they deserve their support this fall, not 2 years from now, this fall.
Well, I will agree with you that I think the court is unlikely to accept any of the maps that were admitted by anyone, and that they are likely to make changes based upon the recommendations of their experts to those maps to come up with a map that is their own, because they don't want to appear to be choosing sides between political parties, between partisan entities, but rather to be achieving a decision that rises above politics. At least that's the claim they're going to make when they hand down these maps that dramatically change the Democrat and Republican numbers in the state legislature. But we'll see. This is going to go on for some time.
And it's a lot of fun for insiders. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to The Insiders with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.